So if you're just popping in and starting to join, we're just going to jump right into an easy seat. Coming to Sukhasana, top of the mat. You can sit on a block or bolster if you'd like. And just start rolling your head out a little bit, taking your right ear to your right shoulder, rolling it over to the left, and slowly back and forth, just kind of warming up. Starting to check in. After you've taken a few rolls with the neck, you start with the shoulders, kind of bringing them up the ears, down the back. Hands can rest really gently on the tops of your knees. And again, baby warm-ups to wait for everyone to arrive. All right. So from here, let's come to just a peaceful sit. Getting nice and tall through the spine. Rising up onto the sit bones, feeling that core start to engage to help have a slight arch in your low back. And then imagine your shoulder blades coming together like you can hold a little piece of paper. Slight tuck of the chin. Close the eyes down. Just relax the arms onto the legs. And start to tune in to yourself. Notice how you're feeling this morning. High energy, low energy, medium energy. Maybe notice how you're breathing. If you're starting to breathe in your chest, let's start to consciously imagine expanding that belly. Engaging that diaphragmatic breath, feeling the sides of the waist, the front of the belly and the back. Start to open on the inhale, contracting on the exhale. If you'd like to use Ujjayi breathing during your practice today, the ocean sounding breath, we start now with that slight constriction of the back of the throat. And throughout this practice, this is going to be a nice feel-good morning flow. If at any point you'd like to take a Balasana Child's Pose, please do. This is your practice. I'm just here to guide you through it. And on the next inhale, open those eyes, reaching the arms up. Exhale that right hand to the left knee. Left hand comes behind the low back. Just a gentle twist opening to the left. Not going super deep. Inhaling, arms up. Rotating to the left, right side, left hand, right knee. Hand behind the back, looking over the right shoulder. Again, inhale up. Exhale, right hand, left knee. You can feel a nice stretch in the sides of the neck. Inhaling up. Exhaling, left hand, right knee. And inhaling up last time. Exhale, taking it over to the left, nice twist. Maybe this time you can still keeping it light, maybe push a little bit more. Opening up the thoracic cage, the chest, opening to the left. Inhaling, hands reach up. Taking it over to the right. Torso rotate. Keeping those sit bones nice and heavy. And back to center, inhale. And just walk straight out from your hips. And just letting your heart sink down and your neck relax. You can rock side to side, kind of getting into those hips. Maybe even feeling it in the low back. Again, I'm still trying to send those sit bones down. Yeah. And then when you're ready, we're going to switch the legs that are in top. So just walk your hands back up. And you're just going to, whichever leg was in back before, just switch that to be on top. Sit up nice and tall. Inhale. And then exhale, walk the hands out. When you get to a nice spot where your hips are still on the floor, then go ahead and sink that chest down. Throughout this practice, let's try to focus on syncing your breath to motion. Sometimes I like to recommend I'll cue breathing in or out, but if you do the opposite, that is totally fine as well. The main thing is you're breathing. Coming up on the inhale. And we're going to move over onto our knees, coming into a tabletop. From tabletop, we're going to give our wrists some love this morning before we jump into all the upward facing dogs and down dogs. So we're going to sit back onto our ankles just a little bit, and then just rotate that palm face down, fingers pointing towards the knees. So you're opening the forearm wrist to the front of your mat. Fingers pointing towards you. And then you can just gently coming up and then sitting back towards your heels, keeping it nice and dynamic, and just going to your limits. Warming up those forearm muscles, the wrist flexors. One more breath here. And then we're going to rotate the palms up, still fingers pointing towards the knees. You can stay high onto the knees. That'll make it a little less intense as you sit back. You'll definitely feel the stretch. And again, just keep it dynamic. Or if you do find a spot that you're like, whoa, this feels really good, you can hang out there for a minute. It really gets into the wrist extensors. One more breath here, feeling free to move however you'd like, side to side, front to back. And then last one, we're going to keep the palms facing up, but then put them facing each other, like you're holding something in your hands. And then again, still getting into a little bit of the extensors, just go back and forth, side to side. Two breaths here. This is great for if you do any desk work, even after using your phone so much more since we're in quarantine. Anything you do, just definitely these little joints and carpal bones in our wrists do a lot of work. So let's go ahead and sit back onto our heels. Just shake out your hands. Give them a nice little shake, shake and shake. And then we're going to take it into downward facing dog. So coming into down dog. Go ahead and pedal out the knees, pressing deeply into the palm, index and thumb. Rotating those elbows in so the triceps roll in as well to help the shoulder blades broaden on the back. Tailbones high, feeling those inner thighs reach back and out. to also help spread the sit bones. Inhale here. Feel free to keep it moving. Bending those knees. And then we're going to do some variations of cat camel, but we're going to be going from down dog to plank. Get everything warmed up. So when you're ready, sitting back, you can still keep a nice bend into the knees. Coming up onto the tippy toes, like you're a wave, you're going to move the curve all the way into the upper back to shift your weight forward to look down in between your hands. And then look up, sending those hips back, tailbone lift high, downward facing dog. Inhale on the toes, curling the spine, tucking the chin, curling the back until you get into plank, looking down, sending that sit bone high, peeling the hips back. A few more times like this. You can start to go at your own speed with your own breath, waking up the arms, waking up the core. Really pushing back into the palms when you get into downward facing dog. 2 more. And on this last one, coming into plank, feeling nice and springy, hopefully feeling pretty good in those wrists. And then we're just going to drop down onto our knees, drop down onto our chest, knees, chest, chin, and then pull through, coming into Sphinx pose. So elbows in, right underneath the shoulders, hands directly out. Like you have your quads, your fingertips pulling into the mat to help reach your chest forward as your hand and elbows want to come back towards the back of the mat. Inhale, your chest lifts. Collarbone smiles wide. Gazing over the right shoulder. A nice stretch in the neck. And then back to center. Looking over the left shoulder. Back to center. Maybe lifting that right leg off the floor. Drop it down. Keeping the toes pointed, maybe lifting the left leg. Drop that down. Both legs lift. Maybe reach the chest a little bit higher. And then exhale. Come back, hands at the base of the ribs, pressing up into plank, downward facing dog. From down dog, look up at the front of the mat. Come up onto your tippy toes. Walk, hop, step forward. Forward fold. Bending a nice deep bend in those knees. Just let that neck relax down. Halfway lift, inhale. Imagining you could lift something from the ground. So protecting your low back, engaging that core. And then keeping that straight back, hands to hips, coming up all the way. Inhale, arms reach up. Exhale, Samasthiti, hands to heart. Again, hands reach up. Toes together, heels apart. We're going to sink down into Utkatasana, chair pose. So lifting that chest, sinking those hips. One breath here as you reach with those hands, nice and animated. And then exhale down. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, step that left foot back. Drop it down to the floor. Keeping your hands still just right next to the foot of that right foot. And inhale that chest up. Exhale. Straightening that right leg. We're still in a modified lunge, modified Hanumanasana. And we want, if you need to heel, swing that heel up a little bit. Inhale your chest up. Exhale. Just slowly waking up the hamstrings. So we're definitely not going to try and go as deep as we can. And then bend that right knee. Come up onto the ball of that left foot. Step back into plank. One breath in plank. Feeling nice and strong. And then exhale, you can come down onto your knees or just slowly getting ready for chaturanga. Inhale. Coming into low cobra to start. Pulling those elbows in. Relaxing the legs. Exhale. Tuck those toes under. Pressing up into plank. Downward facing dog. Breathing deeply here. Reconnecting yourself to the present moment with your breath. Coming onto the ball of the feet. Look forward. This time we're going to step that left foot in between the hands. Drop that right knee down. And stay in a modified lunge here. So reaching the heart forward as we pull the arms back. And then exhale, we're going to straighten that left leg. Toes pull back towards the shin. You need to heel toe it out further. Inhale, heart gets long. And then just slowly start to bend forward, fold over that left leg. Again, we're not going for the deepest. The goal is not to get that shin to nose. It's the journey on the way down, what you learn from hanging out in places that make you uncomfortable and breathing through it. Bending into that left knee, coming onto the ball of that right foot, step forward, toes to touch, into a nice Uttanasana, forward fold. Sweeping the arms up, coming into chair pose, sinking that hip down as you reach the heart up, and then exhale, all the way up to Tadasana, hands come to heart. You're going to add a slight back bend here in Tadasana, so reaching your arms up, keeping your tailbone moving down towards the floor and forward. You're just going to gently tilt the chest up as you reach the arms behind you, and then sinking those hips down, coming into chair pose. Exhale, drop those hands down, forward fold. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, step that left foot back. Drop that left knee down. Inhale here, low lunge. Exhale, straighten out that right leg. Toes point back. Sinking that heart down towards the shin. Exhale, straightening that left leg, bending that right knee, coming up into plank, stepping back. Either come down onto your knees, lowering to the floor, chaturanga. Inhale, this time upward facing dog. If you're coming into upward facing dog, making sure you're engaging your quads to lift your knees off the floor. This is always an option. You can come down onto low cobra or high cobra, and then shift back into downward facing dog. Two more deep breaths here. Really reaching that tailbone towards the sky. Inhale, look up. Step that left foot in between the hands. Drop that right knee down. Coming onto the fingertips as you sink your right hip towards the floor. And then exhale, slowly straighten that left leg. Toes point back towards the shin. And then instead of trying to get your nose towards your shin, maybe reach your heart. You'll start to engage all of the fascial lines behind the back body, all the way from the ankle, the Achilles, to the toes, all the way up to the crown of the head. And then bending into that left knee, stepping up, big toes to touch, forward fold, shaking it out. And then sinking those hips down, sweeping the arms up, Utkatasana, chair pose. Excellent. From here, one more sinking deeper. And maybe an inch. And then come up, pressing into the heels. Sinking that chest back, little back bend. And then exhale, Samasthiti, hands to heart. Again, inhale, arms reach up. Sinking back just a little bit, chest lifts, collarbone smiles. And then exhale, giving that nice lift in the chest, sink those hips down. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, send that right leg back this time. Drop that right knee down to the floor. If you'd want to stay in this modified lunge, feel free. We're just going to bring the arms up this time. Now that we've warmed up the hip flexors, opening up the chest, goalpost arms, smile the collarbone. One more breath. Looking down, placing the hands next to your hips as you straighten that left leg. Modified Hanumanasana. Exhale, straighten, bending into that left knee, coming into plank, preparing for Vinyasana, looking down, coming into a 90-degree bend in those elbows, and then shifting onto the toes. Inhaling, the chest lifts high. Exhale, shift back, downward facing dog. One deep breath here as you send those hips up. Looking up to prepare. You can come onto the tippy toes and then step that right foot forward in between the hands. Left knee down. You can stay here with on your fingertips or coming up, reaching your arms to Anjaneyasana. Goalpost arms or cactus arms, spreading the elbows wide, opening up to the chest. Exhale, hands come down to your hips, shifting back as you straighten your right knee. Reaching your heart forward. And then bending into your right knee. Coming up onto your toes of that left foot, and then coming forward again, toes to touch, ankles slightly apart in a forward fold. Going right into Utkatasana, chair pose, sweeping the arms up as your hips sink down. One breath here. Exhale, standing tall. Reaching the hands back. Heart lifts up. Elbow shifts down. And then Samasthiti here. Come back to center. Inhale, arms reach up. Maybe imagine a beach ball you're trying to pass to someone behind you. And then sink down into the hips, chair pose. Chair pose, lifting that chest. You can feel free to come down onto your knees, so we're just going to step that left foot straight back. Coming into crescent pose. Yeah. Making sure that your right knee is either right above or slightly behind that right ankle, protecting your knee. Reaching the arms up, goalpost arms, elbows wide. Inhale, arms reach up. This time, rotate onto the back ankle and straighten your right leg. We're still gonna keep the hips facing forward. We're just gonna come into pyramid pose. So from here, grab a hold of the waist, and then we're just gonna shift the weight forward, still engaging the quads of that right leg to make sure that kneecap is traveling up towards your spine. Getting long from the waist, straight back. One more breath here. And then exhale, coming up. Bending into that right knee again. Opening up this time into warrior two. Warrior two, look down at the mat. Spiral the arms down. Getting ready for Vinyasana. Coming into plank. Chaturanga halfway. Inhale, upward facing dog. Sending the heart high. Exhale, shifting over the feet. Downward facing dog. When you're ready, look up, inhale. Bending into that left foot to come forward in between the hands. Hip width apart as you inhale up into crescent lunge. Breathing deeply. Trying to get out of our minds in this practice and into our body, using our breath, our focus into the posture. From here, we're going to straighten that left leg and step that right foot forward a little bit if you'd like. Send that right heel down, grab a hold of the waist. Pull that left hip back to even and level out the pelvis. And then slowly straight back, lean forward over that left leg. Pyramid pose. Hello, hamstring. So actively trying to get long from the waist. Crown of the head reaches far. Then we're going to bend into that left knee. Coming into heel to arch alignment, opening up the arms, warrior two. One breath here, looking down at the floor, spiral the arms, coming into Vinyasana. Halfway, upward facing dog, pressing into the palm. Exhale, downward facing dog. From down dog, going into three-legged dog, so feeling nice and firm in that left foot, reaching that right heel up. So sending the toes straight down, keeping the hips nice and level. One breath here, getting nice and long, all the way from the fingertips to that right ankle. And then bend that right knee, open up the hips to the right. Beautiful. From here, can you shift forward, keeping that knee bent behind you? Look in between your left arm and leg. Can you wave to yourself with your foot? Hello. And then keeping that, can you shift forward into your hands? Drop your foot down. Reverse dog. Yeah. So you want to be right above your shoulder, right above your left wrist. And then opening up your chest. Lift the dog. Coming back to plank. Then back to downward facing dog. Three-legged dog, right leg lifted. And then stepping that right foot forward. Coming up into crescent pose. Again, cactus arms, inhale, collarbone broadens. Drop that back heel down. You can interlace the hands behind your back, coming into prayer hands, or just grab opposite elbows, whichever variation you'd like, or you can still grab the waist, straighten that right leg, coming into pyramid pose. Whichever one you do, you still want to stay lifted in the chest, which is the goal with having the hands behind the back, to remind ourselves to not collapse into our back. Inhale, arms reach high, coming up, shifting into warrior two on the right leg. 2 breaths here, sinking maybe an inch lower, pressing into the outer edge of that left foot. Look down, spiral the arms forward, top of the mat, step that left to right in high plank. And then from here, lowering down, chaturanga, halfway. Inhale up, upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Again, when you're ready, lifting that left leg up. At first, keeping the toes pointed down, feeling what it is like to have a leveled hip. And then opening up, bending that left knee. And then maybe you start to look underneath your right armpit, smile at your foot. Be like, hey, you can wave to yourself. And then looking forward, shift your weight forward before you flip the dog to help protect the shoulder as you open up. If this is too much, you can always just stay with that hip open to the left. This just adds a little bit more into the heart, into the chest opening. And then coming forward, back into three-legged dog, sending that left heel high. Look forward, step that left foot in between the hands, coming into crescent lunge on the left side. Beautiful, yogis. From here, again, step that right foot forward if you need, sending that right heel down, grabbing hold of the waist, making sure it's level towards the front of the mat. You can interlace the hands behind you, come into prayer hands that we've warmed up the wrists, or just interlace the hands behind, and then slowly send your chest forward. Heart reaches forward. Left hip pulls back. Yeah. Breathing in pyramid. On your next breath, coming up, opening up your arms, sinking into your hips, warrior two on the left. Taking one more breath here, looking down, spiral the arms down, come back into plank. From plank, lower down halfway, chaturanga. Upward facing dog. Beautiful. Shifting your weight back, downward facing dog. Now you know what's going to happen. So you can slightly go a little bit more with your breath, more fluid movement. We're gonna shift that right heel up, coming into three-legged dog. Taking a moment here as we lift that hip, still internally rotating, toes pointing down. Relaxing the neck here. And then opening up that knee, that hip, bending deeply into that right knee. Looking back, maybe seeing your right foot underneath your left armpit. And then shifting your weight, if you're going to flip the dog, into plank before you flip. Protecting that left shoulder, stacking everything right above each other before we open up with a little bit right. Yeah. Pressing into that toe and that heel to lift the hips. Beautiful. And then coming back, three-legged dog. pivoting on that left foot, sending that right heel up. And then exhale, bending that right knee, stepping forward in between the mat. And then coming into crescent lunge. Excellent. From crescent lunge, just one more goalpost arm, opening up the chest. You start to feel some extra breath in your breath. You're starting to open up the chest more. And then inhale, hands up. Stepping into pyramid pose, just dropping that left heel down, straightening that right knee, shifting the hips forward. Whichever arm variation you'd like, take that now. Sending that heart forward over that right leg. Using these moments to let your breath pull you back in. Give me one more breath here. And then coming up, opening the arms, warrior two on that right leg. From here, spiraling the arms down, stepping back. Chaturanga, halfway lift down. Inhale, upward facing dog. Pressing deeply into that tops of the feet. Exhale, downward facing dog. Pressing into the palms. Sending those hips nice and back. Checking in with your neck. Your face if you're holding any tension in your jaw. And then when you're ready, lifting into three-legged dog. Left heel lifts high. Toes internally pointing down, still internally rotating that left femur. One more breath here before we open up. Bending into that left knee. Looking back and maybe saying hello to your left foot. Gazing under your right armpit. Staying here if you're comfortable, or moving forward, stacking your right shoulder over your right wrist and then dropping that left knee behind you, pressing up like you're in bridge, opening up that left hand. Wild thing. And then coming back, three-legged dog, left heel up high. Looking forward, step that left foot in between the hands, coming up into crescent lunge on that left leg. Opening up the chest, cactus, goalpost arms, collarbone lift. So sending that tailbone down. And then exhale, you can place the hands to the hips, shifting the hips into a pyramid pose, straightening that left knee. Grasping or placing your hands behind your back in a comfortable position. Good arm variation. Shifting your heart forward over your left knee. Breathing deeply. And then inhaling up. Opening up the arms, warrior two. Sending that heel to arch alignment. One more breath here. Look down. Spiral, cartwheel the arms down. Stepping back to plank. Halfway down, chaturanga. Upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. From down dog, sending those hips back, relaxing, shaking out that neck. And then look forward when you're ready. Coming up on your tippy toes. You can step or just hop forward. Top of the mat, forward fold. Bending into those knees, grabbing opposite elbows. Just letting it all go, let gravity when maybe starting to shift most of your weight into your toes. And then ragdoll up. And coming up all the way to stand. Arms reach high. Almost CCD, hands to heart. From here, you're going to grab hold of your waist. And then just step sideways with your right foot onto your mat, so you're facing the right side of your mat. Awesome. So from here, making sure that your heels and toes are aligned. Maybe the toes are slightly in. You're going to take into a nice wide leg fold so you can grab a hold of your waist. Send your heart forward and coming down onto your fingertips. Keeping your elbows wide. You need to have a nice micro bend in your knees. Please do that to protect your hamstrings. Let me shake out the neck here. I'm going to do some form of twisting today. So from here, we're going to come back into straight back, flat back. And then we're going to take our right, so let me restart. So from here, you can go ahead and place your right hand right below you and lift up. Or you can grab a hold of the outer edge of that left ankle or left shin and then open up. So whichever variation is most comfortable to you, please take that. This obviously has a little bit more balance in it. And then you can bind behind your back, relaxing your neck down. So whichever variation you're doing, making sure that you're listening to your body, listening to your limits. And opening up that left side, that left torso. One more breath here. Undo that. Just come back to center. Let me grab opposite elbows. Coming back into straight back if you did the hands in the air. And then from here, coming back into straight back, grabbing a hold of the outer right shin or just placing that left hand underneath your face. Using each breath to spiral that chest towards the right. Inhale, coming back to center. And now we're going to just come bending into those knees. Just come up, stand with the wide leg. Yeah. So we're going to do some Skandasana surfing poses because they're just a lot of fun. So we're going to sit into our left foot. So sitting down onto your left heel, you can stay elevated or come onto the ball of the feet, keeping our right leg shooting directly out from our right hip. You can flex that foot up. This is like almost a half malasana. So you can bring that left elbow to sit on top or on the inside of that left inner thigh. Reaching the heart up. Very good. Beautiful, yogis. One more breath here. And we're going to place the hands just directly down and just shift to the other side. So right hip down, left toes up, hands to heart. Getting a little bit deeper into the soleus, into the Achilles, and gastroc. All right, so from here, again, shifting to the other side, placing the hands down, like a baby ninja, coming onto the other side. There we go. Most important thing is lifting that chest up. Yeah, there you go. And then placing the hands down in the center, shifting the hips to the other side. Inhaling here. And then again, shift back to the other side. This time we're going to open our arms out like we're surfing. So that left hand stays on the inside of that left knee, right arm reaches up. This would be an insane longboard, but we're doing it. We're surfing those waves. One more breath here. And then you can take the hands down in front of you to help shift your hips over to the right. Sitting deep into that right heel, send and shoot out that right hand directly out of that shoulder. Left hand reaches up. Breathing deeply. And again, hands come down, shifting over to the other side. This time just shoot out your arms. You're like, I know what I need to do. I'm a surfer pro now. And then go back to center, shifting to the other side. Arms shoot out. Back to center. This time just straining both legs. Shake out the knees. And then from here, just kind of hop or step heel toe the hips, getting into the actual Malasana squat. So heels in, toes out. You can keep it a little bit wider than hips if you're super tight like me. And then sink those hips down. If you have a block nearby or any bolster, you can place that right underneath your tailbone to make that a little bit more accessible. The goal here as you sink your hips down is to maybe try and play with lifting your toes. Yeah. And then, just kind of let those hips sink down. I know sometimes in classes they emphasize like Mula Bandha, like really lifting up through this pose. But for this purpose, let's just let everything in the pelvic floor relax, lifting the chest high, pressing into the palms. Maybe even trying reverse prayer, just playing around with the wrists again, like a surprise wrist stretch in the Malasana squat. One more breath here. And then we'll have almost held this for a minute. What? You guys are doing so good. This is basically like a love-hate relationship with this pose, but it's so good for you. And then let's go ahead and place those hands down straight in front of you, standing those hips high, shaking out those knees. Ooh. And then grabbing a hold of those hips, inhale all the way up to stand. All right, so let's step forward onto our mat, once again facing forward. Inhale, arms reach high. Exhale, sitting deep into a squat, chair pose. Can you sit a little bit deeper? Can you come onto the tippy toes? And then just fall back, coming onto your butt. Yeah, just a sneaky way of getting you to the floor. So from here, let's open up our toes, bringing our heels and toes together, coming into butterfly pose, sitting high onto our tailbone. We're going to open up, splay open the toes, and then just slowly reaching forward with our chest. If you did have a block, sometimes it's fun to just perch it on your toes. You have somewhere to rest your head. If you don't, no worries, just making sure there's no tension being held in your neck. One more breath here. And then exhale, coming up, shooting those legs long. And then sitting back onto our butt, bringing those heels into close to our butt. We're going to come back to prepare for bridge pose. So preparing for bridge, making sure our heels and toes are facing in the same direction as our knees. You can place the hands directly, arms or hands facing down on your sides. Pressing into the heels, lifting the glutes up. Chest lifts up. Breathe in here. First one, just take one nice deep breath, inhale. And then slowly roll it down, tailbone as the last thing to settle down onto the mat. And then again, pressing into the heels, lifting up on an inhale. Holding for one more deep breath. And then lowering down. This time, inhaling up. You can interlace the hands behind the low back if you like. Kind of hug, snuggle those shoulder blades inwards to allow the chest to lift, pressing into the heels. Hanging out here for a little bit longer. Trying to keep your gaze looking straight up towards the ceiling. Or you can take it down, watching your belly rise and fall. And then undo the hands if you have them laced, and then roll back down onto your back. Getting ready for one more time. Inhaling, hips lift. If you want to interlace your shoulders, feel free. Lifting that chest up. And then from here, you can go ahead and play with lifting one leg up, straightening that leg, really being powerful in the heel that's down, and then switch side to side, bursting the blood flow. One more time. Lifting that chest high. Undo the binding of the hands. Curl your spine down. And then bring your feet to that hip mat width apart and just let your knees collapse in. Kind of releases the low back. Taking a moment here. So coming into shoulder stand now. So from here, there's a few ways to get into it. You can just pop right up, which I like to do, but let's go ahead and bring it back into bridge. And the variation is just lifting one leg up, holding that, lifting the other leg up, holding that. So you can keep doing that. Or you can just kind of keeping the toes together, curling up over your head, and then it's like you're in plow pose, bringing the elbows in close, and then from plow pose, I like to lift the heels. Pressing the palms into the low back, making sure the heels are stacked above the hips. Just 2 breaths here, trying not to gaze, really protecting your neck. One more breath. And then coming into plow pose fully, dropping those toes behind your head. You can interlace your hands behind the back or just place them relaxed onto your side.
Really feeling the stretch all the way to the base of the neck. And then undo the hands if you had them bound, and then just slowly rolling, reversing this crunch roll all the way down. And just take your hands and arms out wide. Feel free to do any last poses. And if you're ready for it, just relax into a final resting posture, Savasana. As you make your way into Shavasana, go ahead and take up as much space as you'd like. Start to bring your breathing back to normal. Maybe drop the tongue from the roof of the mouth, unhinging the jaws. Letting your shoulders drop down.